It is Tuesday, October 12th, 7 p.m. here in Washington, D.C., and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Nation's Pastime in the nation's capital, WCUA's only baseball-centric talk show. I'm your host, Andrew Snaith, here with my co-hosts, as always, James Higgins and Robbie Cruz, and we will be breaking down the latest from the baseball world. But first, thank you so much for tuning in. We are live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on WCUA Radio, and our shows are posted in podcast form on YouTube and soon Spotify. We are getting that sorted out. Come this Friday, we should have the last 3, potentially 4 episodes of Nation's Pastime in the nation's capital recorded here in the fall semester of 2021 up on Spotify in a playlist. So look for that announcement on our Instagram or Twitter. Follow them both. They are at NatPastimeCap. That's at NatPastimeCap. Get all the updates there, highlights from the shows, and news about when they are posted. And as always, if you want to call in tonight to discuss anything baseball related, that number is 202-319-5106, 202-319-5106. So, guys, we're in the middle, of course, of the Major League Baseball postseason. I think we should just take a moment to step back, relax, and enjoy this wonderful time of the year. And that time of the year, of course, October baseball and all the excitement that it brings.
This is the most exciting time of the year. This is the year. This is part of the year that, everybody waits for, everybody longs for. It's where you learn who's a real contender. It's just an exciting time for baseball.
It's the best. We've already had a few great postseason series, a couple great wild card games. October baseball can't be beat, and I think the league championship series are going to be even better. You're going to have the best teams coming out of this, and it's going to be an exciting rest of the season. It's going to be a fun month. This is what everybody waits for all season long, April through October, and now we're ready to roll. It's the best.
Absolutely meaningful baseball here in October, the 2021 postseason well underway, and we're going to have, as we said, just a full-on discussion tonight talking about all the series that have happened, the ones that have currently already finished, the ones that are still ongoing, and then, of course, the ones that are set for the future in the next coming days. We do have one game going on right now. Quickly, before we get into the discussion, we'll give you an update on that if you're not aware. It is 2-0 Brewers. That is Game 4 of the NLDS. They are currently defeating the Braves in the bottom of the 4th inning. And the Atlanta Braves could clinch tonight with a win there, so definitely one to keep an eye on. We'll keep looking at that as the night goes on here on the show. But let's start talking about some of the series that have already happened. It's been a week since we last talked to everyone, and at that point, none of the AL wildcard or NL wildcard games had been played yet. Of course, we have results from them. We have 4 teams have already been eliminated from postseason contention so far. So, guys, why don't we start with the wildcard games, I think, briefly, just go over them just to talk about them.
Yeah, sounds good.
Absolutely. So the AL wildcard game, we were getting ready for that last week here on Nation's Pastime in the nation's capital. That, of course, between the Red Sox and the Yankees at Fenway Park. Red Sox ended up taking a victory on that one. James, you want to talk about that matchup between those two teams?
Yeah, today's going to be a nice little victory lap, especially coming in after last night. But overall, I think going into the game, what we said on here last week was the Red Sox' biggest chance to win was getting to Cole early and getting to the Yankees bullpen, and the Yankees' best chance to win was to get up early in the game. And obviously we saw Garrett Cole only got 6 outs. And when you're paying him $324 million, and I'm sure we'll hear from Robbie in a minute about this, 6 outs is inexcusable. I don't care whether it's the wild card game, Game 7 of the World Series, or May 3rd in Game 36 of the season. Getting 6 outs is really inexcusable. Garrett Cole did not step up in arguably the biggest start of his life. Yes, he's pitched in World Series games, but in Houston, Justin Verlander was looked at as the alpha guy, right? Like Garrett Cole was 1B to the 1A of Justin Verlander, but when you get paid $324 million, you are brought into New York as the guy. And he got 6 outs in Fenway. Look, last year he pitched in the postseason for the Yankees, but there were no fans in the stands. He didn't have to deal with anything with opposing crowds. His first time in a hostile environment, he gets lit up. 2-run home run by Bogarts and a solo home run by Schwarber. The Yankees bullpen came in and they didn't hold it down. And besides Giancarlo Stanton, the Yankees offense didn't really show up. Giancarlo Stanton had 3 hits, had a home run in the 9th inning. According to John Sterling, he had a Stantonian home run in the 1st inning. And he was at the ballpark. A lot of people thought John Sterling wasn't at the ballpark. He was at the ballpark indeed. I guess the ball just wasn't carrying. But besides Giancarlo Stanton, nobody really hit for the Yankees. And that was a huge issue throughout the season with their inconsistencies. And according to Hal Steinbrenner today, it looks like they will bring Aaron Boone back. A lot of people thought Aaron Boone would be on the hot seat after this. But a great win for the Red Sox. I mean, they got to Cole early in that game. And then Alex Verdugo came up, had 3 RBIs. He now has more postseason RBIs with the Red Sox in 5 games, 6 games now than Mookie Betts did in 21 games with the Red Sox, which is crazy to think about. But big win for the Red Sox. The Yankee season ended early, and yeah, I mean, it came down to Garrett Cole not getting the job done.
Now, Robbie, before we talked about the AL wildcard games last week, I believe you said the Yankees, one of, if not the most inconsistently good teams in baseball, and I think we saw that on full display during last week's AL wildcard game. Two-part question. First, thoughts on Garrett Cole, as James said, not being the man to step up during the AL wildcard game?
See, yes, Garrett Cole needed to win that game. We are paying him $324 million, and it's frustrating to see him come up short for sure. I mean, it's inexcusable that he only went 2+ innings, giving up 3 runs, walking 2, and the big thing was the home run ball, obviously. The big thing that I thought about Garrett Cole's performance was that he was missing his location. His slider wasn't breaking, and when it was breaking, he was leaving it over the heart of the plate. Changeup wasn't really breaking much, and when it was breaking, well, we saw what Xander Bogaerts did with that. So my big thing with Garrett Cole was that he just didn't – he looked nervous out there. And that's surprising because the Yankees, when they signed this guy, they thought this is the guy that's going to turn our franchise around, the guy we can trust in the big game situation. This reminded me of, 2013 against the Cubs in the wild card game?
Yeah.
He lost to Jake Arrieta, and I don't think it's a fair assessment for Yankee haters such as maybe James or other fans who might say that Garrett Cole comes up short in big games, because I don't think that's a fair assessment to Garrett Cole. I think Garrett Cole's pitched plenty of great games in big moments in his career, but this probably was the biggest start of his life, and he came up short. And it's depressing because the Yankees signed him for moments like this. But it's only the second year of that 9-10-year deal possibly, so I don't think we should really panic. I think the thing that we should panic about, though, is the fact that Brian Cashman wants to bring back Aaron Boone, and Hal Steinbrenner's the one. It's his decision.
Yeah, I got to ask you about the comments made by Hal Steinbrenner after the game. I believe he said something along the lines of, the season was not a complete failure.
The season was an absolute failure. Before the season started, everybody in this studio, every baseball fan said the Yankees had no excuse not to win the American League this year. They were the best team on paper by a long shot. It wasn't even close. And the fact that they lose in the wild card game, inexcusable. We can't blame injuries this year because the Yankees were healthy for most of the season. Aaron Judge didn't have many freak injuries. He had COVID earlier this year, but other than that, he was fine. Giancarlo Stanton didn't have a freak injury. They misplayed the whole Luke Voigt situation. Joey Gallo, he's been healthy since we got him. Anthony Rizzo, besides COVID, he's been healthy since we got him. We can't blame injuries this year like we can in previous years. It's just bad coaching, inconsistency, and they just didn't have heart. That was the big thing with this team this year. And I guarantee you, the Yankees will make changes this offseason. It's not going to be Aaron Boone, but it's going to be somebody else.
I was going to say, we have a history of when the Red Sox end up either beating the Yankees in the postseason or going on to win the World Series and the Yankees don't, of the Yankees having an absolute monster offseason afterwards. Could be headed towards that there.
But as CeCe said, it's happened twice in the last 4 years when the Red Sox have rebooted. And one thing that I want to touch on with Cole real quick, yes, Cole has had some big starts in big games, but overall in big games, he hasn't come through, and I think part of that is that his whole life he's been told how great he is. He was number 1 overall pick. He went to UCLA after getting drafted in the first round by the Yankees to become the number 1 overall pick. He coasted through the minors. Then when he got to Pittsburgh, he had a 4 ERA. Went to Houston, got down there, used the sticky stuff, was the man. Game 1 of the World Series that year against the Nats, got roughed up at home. This year in the wild card game, on the road at Fenway, Yankees Red Sox, got 6 outs, 3 earned runs in 2 innings. Does he really need everything to go right for him? When you're getting paid $324 million, you shouldn't need the perfect circumstances, everyone to tell you how great you are, everything to go right for you to perform under pressure. Because that's your job. And as the highest paid pitcher in baseball, he needs to do that. And on a consistent basis, he hasn't done that in big games. Robbie and I may disagree on this, but so far right now, Cole hasn't stepped up when he's needed to.
Well, yeah, he did come up short this season. There's no doubt about that. But if you look at last year when we lost to the Rays, or when the Yankees lost to the Rays in Game 5 of the ALDS, that was not Garrett Cole's fault.
No, I agree with that. But I think also going back,
because Garrett Cole was great in that game.
Right, but there were no fans.
So you're saying the fans are the reason why he's come up short?
No, I'm not saying the fans are the reason why he's come short, but the playoff environment, the pressure. There's obviously going to be less pressure in that game when it's an empty ballpark in San Diego compared to Red Sox Yankees.
I guess so. I mean, my big thing is, Garrett Cole, when he pitched against the Yankees in, I think it was 2019 in the ALCS, Cole was great in that game. Absolutely knocked the Yankees out of the park. And then was it Game 3 of the World Series? Game 4?
He got roughed up in Game 1, but then shoved in Game 5.
Yeah, I was going to say he showed up in the next time he pitched. So my thing is, I think it's a bit of an unfair assessment to say that Garrett Cole can't pitch in the big
we can
games.
say it's a mixed bag.
Yeah, that's fair.
Breaking down the AL wildcard game here on Nation's Pastime in the Nation's Capital. Just a reminder, if you're just tuning in and you want to call in to discuss anything baseball, postseason, anything related, that number is 202-319-5106, 202-319-5106. So that's the AL wildcard game, of course. Big stories there. Garrett Cole, did he come up short? And then, of course, the Red Sox taking that big win and going on as well to win the ALDS. We'll get onto that in a second, but let's talk quickly about the NL wildcard game. Not a whole lot to discuss here other than it was a great true pitchers duel between two of the greatest the game has ever seen that ended up, hats off to St. Louis, but ended up going in favor of the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that was a great baseball game. I think the biggest surprise was Scherzer not getting through 5 innings. I really thought Roberts was going to leave him in the 5th inning there, but the Dodgers bullpen got it done. Chris Taylor came up with the timely hit when needed, and that was a red-hot Cardinals team that the Dodgers were able to fend off. And we'll get into this later. The Dodgers have obviously run into their problems with the Giants, but that was a great game. Taylor came up when they needed to big. Bellinger got on base when they needed him to, and the Dodgers moved on.
Unfortunately, Robbie, we did not see Adam Wainwright versus Albert Pujols, as you predicted.
Well, that's what I would have liked to have seen, but the Dodger bullpen was great. Dodger pitching was great, but can we talk about just the Cardinals lineup? I mean, the lineup wasn't doing anything against the pitching. They put up good at bats, I will say, but when it came to getting on base and to big hits with runners scoring position, the only person that got more than one hit was Tommy Edman. He got 3 hits. The rest of the lineup, nobody got more than one hit.
Yeah, he looked great. Everyone else looked asleep.
That's what I'm saying. And as a team, the Cardinals walked 4 times. So, that's average, which is all right. But I think, talk about failing under big circumstances, the Cardinals lineup just disappointed that game. And that was something that had been carrying them during that red-hot winning streak. So,
and I think one guy that we got to give credit to the Dodgers bullpen, Joe Kelly, coming in the 5th, getting out of Scherzer's jam, stranding 2 guys on base. Everyone did a tremendous job, but he came in the highest leverage situation and really kept that game at bay.
Without question. And like I said earlier, hats off to St. Louis. I mean, this was a team that back over the summer was in single digits for % chance to make the postseason, and they fought a really hard battle at the end of the season there. They won their 16 straight or whatever it was, and and they had a chance, and unfortunately they couldn't take down the highest payroll in all of baseball, but hats off to a great season, and luckily we'll be able to see at least one more with Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina together.
Also, another thing you got to give Cardinals credit for is, unlike many other teams, they didn't acquire a big name at the deadline. Yes, they did make moves for J-Happ and John Lester, but they're not the big guys. So, lots of credit to St. Louis.
Yeah, another credit to St. Louis real quick. Luis Garcia, what a pickup that was. Guy was released by the Yankees, signed by the Cardinals, and he has just been unhittable since they signed him. Really, really good job by St. Louis this year in modeling their bullpen into something that was just a force to be reckoned with at times.
Cardinals devil magic.
It really is the Cardinals devil magic. I don't really have another way to explain it, but again, hats off to them. And Dodgers, of course, advanced from the NL wildcard game to take on the Giants in the NLDS, which is currently happening. We'll get into that a little bit later, but just a quick reminder, if you want to go ahead and call in about anything baseball related, postseason related, whatever it may be, 202-319-5106 is that number, 202-319-5106. Guys, shall we go back to the American League to talk about the first of the American League Division Series, the one that wrapped up last night, of course, between the Tampa Bay Rays and the Boston Red Sox. Tampa Bay Rays, of course, best team in the AL, 100 wins, and they, unfortunately for the city of Tampa Bay, became one of 4 100-win teams to be eliminated in the first round of the playoffs.
Who are the other 3?
I was going to say, can you guess them, Robbie?
Yes. The 2017 Indians.
That's correct.
2019 Yankees.
No.
Or there was a Yankees team on there.
2018.
2018. There was a Twins team on there.
2019 Twins, you got it.
And then the Rays, yeah.
There you go. 4 teams to be eliminated in the division series with 100 wins. Very unfortunate indeed for the Tampa Bay Rays, and what I believe a lot of people would call an upset here with the wild card Red Sox knocking them out in 4 games. Was a great series indeed. Rays looked completely in control from game 1, I would say. We saw the scenes of them eating popcorn in the dugout, and we heard the rumors that they had their champagne sent up to Boston to celebrate once they clinched. Unfortunately, not the case. Red Sox were able to take care of business in 4 games.
Yeah, the Rays ran into a red-hot Red Sox team at the wrong time, and the Red Sox offense had 47 hits in the series, which is absolutely unheard of. Kike Hernandez, the hottest hitter on the planet right now, he reached base in 7 consecutive at-bats, spanning from Games 2 to Game 3, a 5-hit performance in Game 2, walk-off sac fly last night, big home run in Game 3. Overall in the series, he hit .450. If there was an ALDS MVP, it would probably go to Kike Hernandez unless they gave it to Nick Pivetta. But Kike Hernandez really carried the load. But honestly, everyone really stepped up. JD Martinez on a bum ankle, big 3-run home run on Friday night in Game 2. He had a great series overall, hitting .455 in the series. Xander Bogaerts, he had 2 rough nights, but in games 3 and 4, but still hit .333 in the series. And JD at .467, not .455. Alex Verdugo continues to come through with a big double off the wall last night. He hit .316. Again, he has more RBIs with the Red Sox in the postseason in 6 games than Mookie Betts did in 21 games. Kyle Schwarber is the steady tone setter at the top of the order. He hit .313 in the series. Hunter Renfroe, I'm sure he'll get it going at some point in the ALCS. He really hasn't done much, but how can we forget about Christian Vasquez? He's a guy who was very inconsistent all season long offensively. He hit .375 in the series. The big walk-off home run on Sunday night in Game 3, his Carlton Fisk moment, as you could say. It's the eighth walk-off home run by a catcher in MLB postseason history. Top to bottom, the Red Sox offense just completely took over this series and completely destroyed Tampa Bay's pitching. And whatever Tampa Bay threw at him between Games 2 and 4, the Red Sox had an answer to. And that's really what it came down to. The Red Sox offense being able to out-hit Tampa Bay and Alex Cora being able to maneuver his starters and his bullpen better than Kevin Cash could.
2 takeaways from this series, one for each team. And let's talk about the Rays for a second here. Robbie, I think you would agree here. Biggest one for the Rays that's positive has to be the fact that they have Wander Franco for the next 5 years.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Wander Franco showed in the series. He's legit. Now, the biggest thing before we get back to the Rays that I want to applaud the Red Sox on is their lineup is incredible, as James just said. If the Red Sox are going to win the World Series, it's going to be because of their lineup. Their pitching wasn't great in this series, but their offense scored so many runs to the point where even though their pitching wasn't great, it didn't matter. Their bullpen, as I mentioned the last few weeks, very questionable. I have a lot of questions about this bullpen. I don't like it at all. But if the offense scores this many runs, their pitching struggles doesn't matter.
The other thing in the postseason, though, is that you can use starters in the bullpen that you wouldn't do. Like, yes, their bullpen was their biggest weakness coming into the postseason. I completely agree. But how about Nick Pivetta? Between what he did in Games 1 and Games 3. Game 1, he kept them in the game. He pitched 4 innings, gave up 2 runs. He really saved the bullpen. Game 3, 4 innings. Let me pull up his line right here. He threw 140 pitches between Games 1 and 3. That's a 72-hour span, which is completely unheard of. He had his Nate Eovaldi, Madison Bumgarner, whatever you want to call it type moment. His performance wasn't on that level, but it'll be remembered by Red Sox fans forever. Pivetta on Sunday in Game 3 went 4 innings, only gave up 3 hits, struck out 7, walked 1 in relief.
Yeah.
Threw 73 pitches. He was incredible, and he was fired up. He was more fired up each time he came off the mound. He was truly incredible. It was a heroic performance that I'll remember for a while. He saved the Red Sox bullpen. Another Red Sox reliever I want to touch on, Garrett Whitlock. He's arguably a top 5 reliever in the American League right now. This is not about the Rule 5 at all. I know.
James is 100% right. Garrett Whitlock is nasty. This is by far, in my opinion, the best reliever in the Red Sox bullpen.
But don't worry, because
he is their best reliever by far. He's probably their only true reliever because they're going to use Pivetta and maybe Rodriguez. We'll see how they deploy the bullpen. Potentially Sale. They're going to use guys in relief in between starts. Probably besides Eovaldi because they're going to want him to go as long as he can in starts. But how can a hybrid? Tanner Houck did a great job in Game 2. Five shutout innings after Sale gave up the grand slam. I mean, that can't go understated. How he kept the Rays at bay and the Red Sox offense continued to roll. But Whitlock last night ended in Game 3. Came in 2 shutout innings last night. A shutout inning on Sunday. He's the man. I mean, that changeup just falls off the table. He could be the best closer in the game if the Red Sox wanted to let him be a closer.
But James, don't worry, because the Yankees did choose to protect an absolute stud
Brooks
in the Rule 5 draft where they let him go. I mean, we're talking about a big name right there, of course, Robbie. Isn't that right?
I just got to know, at what point do the Yankees say, I'm tired of this? At what point do we say I'm tired of losing people to the Rule 5 draft? Why are we protecting this guy? I know this isn't a Yankees segment, so I'm not going to talk about the Yankees. But gosh, golly, this is embarrassing. The Yankees needed Garrett Whitlock so badly in the postseason. Imagine if we still had him. Brooks Kriskey's on the Orioles right now. He's in their minor league system.
Brooks Kriskey was also single-handedly responsible for a Red Sox comeback win against the Yankees.
And honestly, if the Yankees win that game, the wild card game is held in New York. guarantee you
Yeah.
the entire series played different. Because Giancarlo Stanton hit 2 balls that would have been monster home runs at Yankee Stadium. The ridiculous green monster ruined our chances.
So what I'm hearing here is that Brooks Christie is the reason that the Yankees did not win the wild card game.
I think that he's a part of it, but I think the biggest reason why the Yankees were even in the wild card game was because of Andrew Heaney.
Oh, man.
Andrew Heaney had a negative war with us. If Andrew Heaney is never a New York Yankee, the Yankees don't even have to worry about the wild card game being played in Boston, and maybe they're able to get that first spot in the American League East. I don't want to talk about the Yankees, though. They disgust me. I'm sick of them. I'm sick of thinking about them. I'm sick of buying their merchandise. I'm sick of supporting this team. I'm done with them.
Andrew Heaney, yes or no, the greatest acquisition at the trade deadline for the Red Sox. Pretty good one.
Yes. Well, how about Kyle Schwarber?
Yeah, no, honestly, though, let's talk about Kyle Schwarber real quick before we go into the other ALDS series, of course.
That's
He has
the
been
number one
amazing.
off-season priority to re-sign Kyle Schwarber. It has to be.
Well, here's the thing, right? And he was a guy that when he was traded, of course, was hurt from the Nationals to the Red Sox. Immediately, I remember texting James and saying that is a great pickup. When he gets healthy, he's going to do wonders for this team. Big left-handed bat, especially with the pesky pole down there, and he really has done that. And he's come up clutch as well, by the way, in playing first base, a position that he is not used to playing normally.
Yeah, he made a little bit of a mistake on Sunday, and then he laughed at himself when he finally flipped the ball to first later in the game. Held his hands up in the air like he just scored a game-winning goal in hockey. He's adjusted to first base well, and then late in the game when they need to take him out, they'll put Bobby Dahlbeck or Travis Shaw in there for defensive purposes. But he really is the tone setter at the top of the order. He does a tremendous job. He has a great eye at the plate. He sets the tone for the Red Sox order, and as Kyle Schwarber goes, the Red Sox offense goes. And, he's been tremendous in the postseason. And then 2 guys who, we've talked about one of them here, who have been really two of the best valued signings of the offseason, both Kike Hernandez and Hunter Renfroe.
Yeah.
Hunter Renfroe had a 30-homer, 99 RBI season, $3 million, and he's got under club control for 2 more years. And then Kike Hernandez, 2 years, $14 million, was one of the best defensive center fielders in the league among defensive runs saved. Can also play second base. He's been a steady presence at the top of the order and in the field. Yeah,
don't forget the outfield assist from Hunter Renfroe as well. Been amazing in the field
the most
as well.
in baseball.
Yeah, the most in baseball, 30 home runs, 90-plus RBI, a great season for Hunter Renfroe, a guy who I believe is going to be getting a multi-year deal this offseason.
Who?
Hunter Renfroe.
He's got 2 more years of club control left.
You're kidding me.
He's on arbitration.
I didn't even know that
He's got 2
deal
years
was
club
that.
control
That's
left.
amazing. What a signing by the Red Sox there. I will echo your praises as well for the Kike Hernandez signing. And like I said, this guy, this is the kind of signing that when you make it, if you get to the postseason, it's going to pay dividends. He's been there. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to perform in the big moments. And he showed that with, the 7 straight hits
he tied a postseason record.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. So Red Sox, they're wrapping up that series. Win against the Tampa Bay Rays, 3-1.
Before we move on from the Red Sox, can I quickly touch on Nate Eovaldi?
Yeah,
He
sure.
was tremendous in the wild card game, and he was tremendous against Tampa Bay. And I know his start against Tampa Bay will kind of get lost in the shuffle because of how late that game went. But he set the first 6 batters down by way of the K. I think he had 8 strikeouts overall in the night. Besides the 2-run home run to Meadows, I mean that was it. That was really all he gave up on Sunday night. And then the wild card game against the Yankees, 8 strikeouts, 5 1/3 innings. I thought Cora should have left him out for longer. It ended up working out for the Red Sox, but Nate Eovaldi's been their best pitcher all year, and his career ERA in the postseason is under 2. He's tremendous in the postseason. He steps up in the biggest moments, and Nate Eovaldi deserves more love because he's a guy that you want on the mound in October, and he's nasty. I think he's called Nasty Nate for a reason. Everybody knows how nasty he is. When he's on, and that can't be understated. He's slated to start Game 1 on Friday. The Red Sox need to get Chris Sale right, but Nate Eovaldi setting the tone on Friday would be huge.
Definitely earning that contract that he got so far here in the postseason and throughout his time as a Red Sox. Moving on to the other ALDS series that wrapped up today. Before that, quick reminder, if you want to call in with anything baseball related to talk about, 202-319-5106 is that number. 202-319-5106. And guys, if your name is Andrew right now, you're not feeling too good based on your postseason predictions that we did, I believe it was a week ago, because the World Series winner that I had, the Chicago White Sox, currently was eliminated today, and the Brewers are, I just checked.
Game is tied at 2.
Game is no longer tied at 2, actually. We have a 4-2 lead for the Brewers, so breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief there that my other World Series pick is still in it.
That was literally 10 seconds ago.
It literally was 10 seconds ago, I know. But yeah, White Sox eliminated. It was just a bad series for them outside of Game 3. It looked like the Astros show. They were dominant. They were swinging the bats. All of their core pieces were delivering. Their pitching stepped up as well. Just it really showcased why this Houston Astros team legitimately should be considered a serious World Series contender if you still don't think they are. Because a lot of people obviously writing them off and didn't want to even consider them one because of the scandals that have happened in the past. And no matter what your opinions are on the Houston Astros, I know there's a lot of us here in the studio, a lot of us throughout the country of the United States that don't want to see them win the World Series. But you know what? They're a pretty darn good baseball team.
Yeah, their offense is relentless. I mean, I think you think about Michael Brantley, Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve. Kyle Tucker has been their best hitter since the start of September. He won AL Player of the Month for September. He's had an incredible October. That lineup is relentless and it's deep. And Lance McCullers anchors that rotation. He led the league in lowest opponent batting average and lowest home runs per 9 and lowest slugging percentage, lowest OPS. He's been tremendous all year. And the pitching can get a little suspect after McCullers, but they can piece it together and they can out-hit teams. So I think that's why the Red Sox Astros ALCS will be an interesting matchup, because it's two offensive-heavy teams against two teams that, the back end of the rotation and the bullpen aren't exactly their strength.
Now, Robbie, got to ask you, this is another... Let me ask you, as a person who also had the White Sox in the World Series, I mean, thoughts on what went wrong this series for them? Because outside of Game 3, they looked like they were lost.
I don't think anything went wrong for the White Sox. I think the Astros were just that good.
Just too good?
And another thing that I don't think people credit enough for the Astros, they actually have a really good bullpen. Their bullpen was really good in this series. Obviously, you got Kendall Graveman. Phil Matan, he's really good. Ryan Stanek, really good. Ryan Presley, another really good piece. The Astros bullpen's actually really good. I know that they kind of have a reputation as a really struggling bullpen, but here's the thing. The bullpen's fine. And I know that, the back end of the rotation may not be great, but at the same time, I think the bullpen's good enough to the point where they can carry it. So the Astros bullpen was great. Their lineup was really good. And I don't think that's any discredit to the White Sox, because the White Sox were fine, I thought. I did think Tony La Russa overmanaged, but other than that, I thought they were fine.
Yeah, well, what else is new, right, when it comes to Tony La Russa and overmanaging? Of course, the pitching was amazing. I agree with you completely. And one of the big pieces that was good for them, Lance McCullers Jr. Unfortunately, we got word today from Dusty Baker after the game. He left in the 4th inning due to shoulder discomfort. That's going to be a big blow if he's not able to pitch in the ALCS for the Astros.
He wouldn't have been slotted to start Game 1 anyway. But, yeah, that would be a huge blow. Because Game 1's on Friday, so at best you were looking at short rest for Game 2. But, I mean, look, if he for some reason is limited in this series, that's a huge advantage for the Red Sox. Obviously, it's too early to tell if there's going to be any disadvantage or not for McCullers. But we'll see what happens. Again, this Astros offense is probably the scariest in the league. I mean, it's two of the best offenses going up at each other right now, the Red Sox and the Astros, and it's going to make for an entertaining series. I think it's going to go 7 games, and I'll reveal my prediction a little bit later in the show.
All right, sounds good. Let's hop over to the National League, where we have 2 series that are still going on. As we said, of course, Brewers and Braves in Game 4. Brewers currently leave that 4-2 in the top of the 5th inning. They're still batting there with a guy on first and 1 out. See what happens there with that one as the Braves try to clinch tonight and head on to the NLCS. They don't know who they will be playing yet, though, because that other series has their Game 4 happening tonight as well. Giants, Dodgers, and guys, let's start with this one because that series has been an absolute treat to watch. Isn't that right, Robbie?
Yeah, no, definitely. The Giants and Dodgers series, you mean?
Oh, yeah. It's been amazing.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of great, exciting baseball. The Giants, I think, are just one of the most exciting teams to watch because they got so many not big names, and to see them just step up this way is really great, They made Walker Buehler look terrible in the first game. They've been beating the Dodgers bullpen, and everything's going right for the Giants. I know that they didn't look too great in Game 2, but I really like this team going forward.
So let me ask you, unless you want to save it for later, are we seeing a Giants clinch tonight? Because they've looked pretty good.
I think so, because I think, Walker Buehler, first time in his career pitching on 3 days rest. I think that's going to be play an impact. Also, they beat Walker Buehler in Game 1. Everything he was throwing, they were hitting. So I don't see why they wouldn't be able to hit him 3 days after they just shelled him in Game 1.
Yeah, how about, James, I'll ask you about last night's game there, Game 3. A pitcher's duel down to the very end. Evan Longoria, the difference maker for them, a solo home run for a 1-0 victory given to the Giants, playing in Los Angeles. Now, Longo's been doing this for a while. I think a lot of people forget this, but his first postseason game ever back in 2008, he had a 2-homer game. And this is a guy who, let me just take a second to say, one of the more underrated stars of the past 10 years. I truly think so.
For sure. Evan Longoria does not get as much praise or as much attention as he deserves because he played in Tampa Bay for so long, and then he didn't go to San Francisco till the later part of his career. But he's put together a phenomenal career. I mean, he should have more than 3 All-Star appearances, more than 2 or 3 Gold Gloves, more than 3 Silver Sluggers. He's been tremendous, and the home run last night was the difference in the game, and he continues to deliver in the clutch. Max Scherzer pitched brilliantly. 7 innings, 1 run ball. 10 strikeouts. I mean, what more do you expect out of Max Scherzer in the playoffs? And it's too bad the Dodgers offense couldn't come through. Tyler Rogers, Alex Wood, the Giants combined to pitch a gem. Jake McGee. What can you say about the Giants? They keep finding ways to win somehow, some way. Brandon Crawford, great defensive play down in the 7th inning on the line drive, leaped up there, snagged it. Gavin Lux thought he hit it out to end the game, just missed it. It had an 890 expected batting average, just missed it. But right now, tonight, we got DeSclafani, we got Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler in his last start, yes, gave up 2 bombs, but really besides those 2 bombs, he kept the Dodgers in the game. He pitched well. It was two mistakes in a rough first inning where he let the guy on, made a bad 3-0 pitch to Posey, hit it out, and then pitched well late in the game, made another mistake. It happens. DeSclafani, he's ready for this moment. I think the Giants are a team of destiny. And you can kind of just sense it, that they smell blood in the water. They don't want it to go back, even though it would go back home. They don't want it to go back to San Francisco with Urias potentially waiting in the wings. They want to end it tonight with DeSclafani. They would have Gausman ready in Game 5. I've got the Giants tonight. They keep finding ways to somehow win baseball games. They've given the Dodgers everything they can handle this year in this series. I think San Francisco closes it out tonight.
I think we need to give some credit to Logan Webb as well. He was absolutely brilliant in Game 1.
Webb was phenomenal.
Just incredible.
He shoved. Yeah.
And I think it's just amazing to see a guy like Anthony DeSclafani pitch like this. I mean, he had 3.17 ERA this year. I mean, did anybody expect that? The Giants just have had so many guys step up and perform really well this year, and I'm just amazed by it.
And I think if the Giants smell blood in the water tonight, don't be surprised to see Logan Webb come out for an inning or 2 out of the bullpen. Yes, obviously, if the situation is really dire or whatever, they would save him for Game 5. But if they smell blood in the water, don't be surprised to see Webb come out or Gausman, because if Webb is starting Game 5, then they would go to Gausman. Look, you manage the postseason differently. Gabe Kapler's pushed all the right buttons this year. He's pushed all the right buttons in this series. Don't expect expect him to be aggressive. Expect him to make all the right moves.
Yeah, like Robbie said there, just to touch on that, it seems like everything has just gone right for the Giants in the way of players having their career years this year. I think that's a big part of why they're doing as well as they are. But also just credit to the front office for assembling these guys. A lot of these guys were not here last year.
Yeah, Farhan Zaidi's done a great job.
Done a fantastic job picking out guys who really have just come together to form what I believe truly is one of MLB's most cohesive teams. Maybe not the most talented team, especially not the most talented team on paper, but they're cohesive. They're a team that plays together. And, there's not a sabermetric in the world that can measure that.
And this isn't a short-term thing where the Giants are just a fluke for a year or two, then they go back. They're building a monster. Farhan Zaidi came over from the Los Angeles Dodgers. He was with the Dodgers and Andrew Friedman for 6 years. They have a great farm system. They are building the West Coast Tampa Bay Rays. Whatever you want to call it.
That's a good way to put it,
right? Like I know the Dodgers have been called the West Coast Tampa Bay Rays, but the Giants are building their own empire. The Dodgers' reign is going to come to an end at some point. It will come to an end if they lose in this series, but the Giants are here to stay. And you talk about another team that's done a tremendous job. The Red Sox going to be the new Rays in terms of like building a sustainable team? Who knows? But these two teams right now, two teams that nobody expected to do anything this year. One is in the League Championship Series, and the other one is on the verge of going to the League Championship Series. Two teams that aren't going anywhere for a while, that have a lot of talent and really good farm systems.
That would be quite the World Series if it goes that way. I mean, I would absolutely love to see that. And it has, of course, nothing to do with the fact that they are facing the Astros in the LCS. Quick reminder, if you want to call in with anything baseball related to talk about, that number is 202-319-5106. 202-319-5106. Guys, we got one more series to talk about. We've been updating you throughout the night on it, but let's talk about the first 3 games of the Brewers-Braves series, because honestly, it seems like both teams have forgotten how to hit outside of maybe Jock Peterson.
Yeah, no, definitely. Also, I think the Braves losing Jorge Soler today, I think, is also going to make an impact for today's game. But, the Braves and Brewers pitching has been absolutely exceptional. I mean, yes, the lineup has struggled, but I think you also got to give some credit to the pitching at some point. I mean, I look at some of the guys who have been pitching, and they've just looked great overall. Charlie Morton didn't look too great today, so I think that could be a big impact as what happens at the end of this game. But I think pitching's been good for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, pitching's been great, James. I think you'd agree.
Pitching's been the name of the game. The one thing that we all said about the Brewers coming into the postseason was that would they have the offense to compete? And so far, today they're up 4-2, but going into this game, it was really 2-run homer from Rowdy Tellez in Game 1, and that was it. They were shut out in Game 2. They were shut out in Game 3. Yelich didn't come through in Game 3. He was the tying run. Could have tied the game with a 3-run homer, or at least made it interesting with the ball in the gap, but he grounded into a double play. Great turn by Dansby Swanson. The Braves have played great defense all series. Austin Riley, big home run in Game 2. Welcome to Jocktober. Jock Peterson, 2 pinch hit home runs in the series. I don't know if it's the Pearls. I don't know if it's the weather in Atlanta. Whatever it is, it's working for Jock Peterson.
Anthony Rizzo's bat.
Yeah, Anthony Rizzo's bat. Yeah. Charlie Morton going on short rest today. Interesting move. I like it though. I like the aggression by Brian Snitker. Smell blood in the water. Go get the series at home. And they knew he was going to be limited today. They knew he wasn't going more than 3 or 4. But they got Max Fried waiting in the wings tomorrow. And they don't want this thing to go back to Milwaukee, but if it does, Max Fried versus Corbin Burns is going to be a nice little treat for every baseball fan out there.
Oh, without question, I'd pay to see that.
Yeah, and Max Fried looked great in Game 2. I think he threw 5 shutout innings, was it? He was absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
6 shutout innings. So the big thing is that if he pitches, or the Braves are pretty much set for Game 5 if it gets to there. But the Brewers have looked good today so far. I mean, they have the 4-2 lead at the bottom of the 5th inning. So let's see if they can keep it. The bullpen's been fine in this series, I thought, other than I think it was Game 3. I think it was a bullpen loss. Was it
for the Brewers?
Yeah,
that was when Hauser.
Yeah, what
gave
was
up
that?
the
Game
3-run home run. That was
Game 3,
yesterday.
Yeah, it was just him.
It was Game 3. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
Besides that 3-run home run he gave up, the bullpen's been really good for the Brewers, which is surprising because last week we were all saying the key for the Brewers is their bullpen, but the bullpen's actually been fine overall, and they're still finding themselves down in the series. The lineup has definitely been bad though. Christian Yelich has really struggled, and I think that they got a lot of flaws in their lineup right now.
Yeah, Christian Yelich just not looking like himself. I know last year and this year, of course, struggled with injuries both times, but he just looks completely lost. And this was a guy that 2 years ago easily was considered one of, if not the best hitters in the National League. I mean, what a fall from grace. You got to hope that for the Brewers' sake that he picks it up and returns to form either during this postseason or next year because, they are a very, very good team right now and one that could make it to the World Series. But with Christian Yelich performing as Christian Yelich, they're a legit elite team.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's almost like somebody on the show said that once he got the contract extension, it wasn't going to work out. I mean,
I wonder who that was.
Yeah,
I think someone did say that, and that was a good call by Robbie here because so far it's been 2 years, not looking too hot. Of course, we got 6 more years of that. No, you never know how it's going to turn out. I believe he is 29, I want to say. He's 29, so he's still right in his prime.
And I think going back to that, I mean, you saw how pivotal he was in 18 in the postseason, coming up with big hits, and then in 19 he wasn't there in the wild card game, and they ended up losing in that 1-game playoff. I mean, if he's healthy in 19, they might have ended up winning that wild card game and changed the whole complexion of the postseason as the Nats went on to win that World Series. But going back to Yelich, something clearly isn't right. But Milwaukee as an offensive whole, just they are not right. Like they are not getting clutch hits. Avisail Garcia, Willy Adames, they all need to hit the ball more consistently because right now their individual averages are not good in this series.
Colton Wong too.
Yeah. I mean, it's everyone. It's a collective team failure right now. Rowdy Tellez hit a 448-foot bomb today. I mean, he's really the only one that stepped up and hit in this series.
Yeah, I would say him and Omar Narvaez have been the best, but Narvaez might be down right now, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, actually, that was they subbed Manny Pena in. So Manny Pena,
Pena.
Yeah, what he's referencing to, if you're not watching the game, Ozzie Albies just fouled one into the leg area for Manny Pena and did not look like he took it very well. He is still in the game of catching, but that not something you want to see.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if you guys saw this because we were on air, but there was a controversial play about 20 minutes ago where Luis Urias caught a ball, but it looked like it hit the ground right before he caught it. They called it an out, but the ball doesn't lie. Next batter, 2-run single tie game.
Wow, I did not see that.
Ball
so that's what.
Ball don't lie, yeah.
Wow, did not see that at all. So that was the hit that did tie the game there at 2 before they took the lead again. Wow, I mean let's just say the postseason this year has not been without its interesting and controversial plays, of course. And I think, of course, we didn't really talk about it during the ALDS, but why don't we talk about it now? We have 20 more minutes left in the show. By the way, if you want to call in and talk about this play or anything else baseball related, 202-319-5106 is the number. But yeah, that play in Game 3 of the ALDS, Red Sox Rays, fly ball out to right field. Nick Pivetta in the middle of his amazing pitching performance. definitely helped him out, I'd say. Of course, ended up not mattering because Christian Vasquez hit the two-run home run. But Kevin Kiermaier, I believe it was, who hit the ball, bounces off the wall in right field, bounces off Alex Verdugo. Was he out in right?
Hunter Renfroe.
Hunter Renfroe was out in right. Hits Hunter Renfroe and goes into the stands. One of the more strange plays I've ever seen, not only in postseason but in baseball the past couple of years. It was, of course, ruled a ground rule double. That was confirmed to be true. The rule book states that if it unintentionally lands in play, then hits a fielder, then goes into the crowd, it is a ground rule double. But a lot of people upset, especially Tampa Bay Rays fans, because flying around that bases was, I believe it was it Franco in front of him? No, it was
I thought it was Yandy Diaz.
It was Yandy Diaz who was batting in front of him. He was flying around the bases. He would have easily scored, of course. Had to hold there at third, and Nick Pivetta got the job done, keeping them off the board. And it didn't matter after that, a two-run home run from Christian Vasquez.
Yeah, and then going back to that play, I mean, that's something that actually went in the Rays' favor in 2019. It was an obscure game, but it's been surfacing the internet the last couple of days. There was a ball that went off Tommy Pham like that. He went to scoop to field a ground ball, and it hit off the heel of his glove, went into the stands. A run would have scored for Toronto. Kevin Cash came out and argued, got the runner sent back to third, got the batter sent back to first or second, wherever he was. So, I mean, according to the rulebook, yes, it was the right call. The umpires got the call right. Sam Holbrook, the crew chief, made sure they got the call right. And as Alex Cora mentioned after the game, like, he hadn't seen a replay, but when he worked on TV, he learned of two things from Boog Shambi: ground rule doubles and automatic doubles. That was one of those automatic doubles that just sets in. It's, you normally on ball, like, fan interference, it's up to the umpire's discretion, but on a ball like this, it's not. It's treated like a ground rule double. You get two bases, and that's what happened. The Red Sox ended up winning the game. They won by 2, so like the run that would have scored had the ball not gotten into the stands wouldn't matter. But at the end of the day, the umpires got the call right, and it was an unfortunate break for Tampa. But I like, if the shoe was on the other foot, I probably would have been upset about it, just because like that's tough to lose. But at the end of the day, I mean, you have, like, this hasn't happened in 100 years, so like everyone crying for the rule to be changed, like it. Why? Like, Fenway's one of the only places that it's probably going to happen. It's happened once or twice in 100 years. Like, it's not like it's something that a president needs to be set for. But they got the call right, and that's baseball.
That is indeed baseball, absolutely. And, quite the series indeed. Like James said, ended up not mattering overall. But, looking forward, we have an exciting ALCS starting.
Here's another thing about the Rays.
Yeah, go for it.
Analytics might work in a 162-game season, but in a short, condensed series, analytics, Moneyball with the A's back in the early 2000s, that stuff doesn't work in a short postseason series. Good pitching, good offense, good defense wins. Not analytics. Not taking pitchers out when you think you should. Yeah. Not openers. Not the bullpen game. Not having player X hit 6 because he sees 72% fastballs. Analytics doesn't work in the postseason.
Rob, I got to ask you about this, because I think you'd agree more than anyone that the Rays, one of their biggest strengths coming into not only this postseason but the season, was just their unbelievable pitching. Their bullpen, the way that literally these guys who essentially are no names to casual baseball fans were going out there and throwing 100 miles an hour and shutting batters down, and they just did not show up this series. Their bullpen was not good, and neither were their starters.
I mean, it's tough for me to say that the bullpen wasn't good. I think you just got to give credit to the Red Sox offense. I mean,
that's fair.
I mean, to me, like, going back to that series, the umpires definitely didn't help the Rays. The Red Sox caught a lot of breaks, for sure, that ground rule double, but also there was a lot of missed calls last night, as you probably know. Like, a lot of balls were being called strikes against the Rays. And
both teams. Ron Culp was just bad.
I mean, either way, umpiring was pretty bad last night, but it didn't really have an impact on the game. I do think it's unfair to say that the Rays bullpen was really bad, because I think at the end of the day, you just got to give credit to the Red Sox offense. I mean, they were hitting everything that was being thrown, not just last night and throughout the entire series, minus Game 1, because in Game 1 they couldn't score. But I think it was Kike Hernandez somebody fired up that Red Sox dugout after they weren't hitting the ball well in Game 2. Somebody fired them. I think it was actually Alex Cora. Fired the team up, and since then they were just hitting everything. It was crazy.
Robbie, do you agree with James' statement about the whole sabermetric Moneyball, whatever you want to call it, thing not working in the postseason? Because this is yet another time where the Rays are one of, if not the best teams in the American League in baseball, and they come short.
See, I think when it comes to sabermetrics, I think it's good in building your team, but when it comes to managerial decisions, I think that it works to a certain extent. The Rays are obviously known for analytics, but it seems like every team nowadays is known for analytics.
Right, but the Rays differ because while all teams rely on analytics now, that's just how it is. Billy Beane changed the game when he introduced that, and that's fine. But the difference with the Rays is their model is not the superstar model. Every other team has a superstar that they've either paid a ton of money for or that was homegrown that is kind of the anchor of that team. And the Rays very early on decided we're not going to be that type of team. And if we get a guy like that who is homegrown, as soon as he becomes too expensive, we're going to trade him or let him walk.
Right. Yeah, but when it comes to, if you're not going to pay guys, then you need analytics when it comes to building your team. That's kind of the main point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the Houston Astros utilize analytics perfectly. I mean, they made the ALCS the last 5 years, and they've built their team around analytics. So when it comes to building your team around, I think that you need analytics. But when it comes to managerial decisions, when to take out a pitcher, what to do at certain moments, I don't think you should use analytics. I think that should be a gut instinct, and I think that that's one of several managers' big issues in baseball nowadays.
I mean, that's the thing. Kevin Cash has been known to be the kind of guy who can't make those decisions, yet he's won AL Manager of the Year, and he's still considered one of the better ones. I mean, heck, we had a discussion last week with someone who said he should manage the Mets, and both of us said, Robbie, that, hey, if he's a free agent manager, every team in baseball is calling in on him. But then again, you make a good point, because you need a manager there who, in your opinion, needs to make those tough calls and not just base them on whatever the computer says.
And to flip that, that's where Alex Cora comes in.
Right.
Like, he's done a tremendous job. He's in, as a bench coach and as a manager, he's undefeated in postseason series, and he's won 5. He's won the most. He's won the second most elimination or clinching games without a loss. He's won 5 clinching games without losing one. Game 4 against the Yankees in 18, game 5 against the Astros in 18, game 5 against the Dodgers, and then the wild card game, and now this to start off his career. That's second behind Terry Francona. But look at all the buttons that Alex Cora pushes, and he deserves a lot of credit for this. I mean, he's the one who believed in this team, who fired up this team from day one in spring training. But starting Eduardo Rodriguez in game 4 after he got shelled in game 1, he only got 5 outs. He was terrible in game 1. He was tremendous last night. Not going back to Sale at all. Yes, he warmed up for 1 inning last night, but he didn't end up going into the game. And I thought he should have started game 4. I think a lot of people thought he should have come in relief or started game 4. Going to Nick Pivetta in Game 3. Going to Tanner Houck in Game 2. 5 shutout innings. Then going to Houck last night. Going to Garrett Whitlock. Pushing all the right buttons. Alex Cora deserves a tremendous amount of credit, and so does Eduardo Rodriguez, obviously, last night for stepping up. But that's where somebody like Alex Cora comes in. He uses, if the lineup's not broke, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Use the same lineup. Make the right calls with who's starting, who's coming in relief, and that's where managers make their money in the postseason. And Alex Cora has been money for the Red Sox in 18 in the postseason and now in 2021.
Without question, if you're not keeping track also of the NLDS game going on right now. Still 4-2 Brewers. Bases are loaded, though, in the bottom of the 5th for the Atlanta Braves. They got Jock Peterson up again. He's done a lot of damage this series. And warming up in the bullpen, it looks like I completely missed that. Did anyone see who that was?
No.
So ready for the Milwaukee Brewers. Not sure who it is, but Ashby not looking too hot right now. Hit a batter, walked a batter, and we will keep you updated on that series for sure.
That hit, did you see that hit by pitch?
I did, but hey, it counts the same in the scorecard. So
yeah, it was an 0-2 curveball, and it just barely tipped. I think it was Austin Riley. So
it might have been Duvall.
Oh, was it Adam Duvall?
Yeah,
I didn't see the guy's face. Oh, the Braves just scored a run. I think
they did score a run. 4-3 now. Fielder's choice.
Out.
Close one in Atlanta. Brewers trying to get that series even and force a Game 5 back home at Milwaukee. Braves, of course, trying to get that done. And, yeah, the 88 or 89 win Braves really trying to make the NLCS here to potentially play not potentially, they will play a 100-win team if they make it.
That's why October's all about getting hot. It's not always about who's best. It's who's hot at the right time and who believes in themselves. And
here's the thing, James. Do you like that? Because there's a lot of baseball fans who don't like that.
Who don't like what?
Who don't like that it's whoever gets hot at the end of September and October who ends up making the World Series. It's almost like a lot.
Yeah,
I'm going to
play.
That's
the beauty of baseball.
No, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Like, say there's people who like it back when it was, the best team in the best team in both leagues play each other. Those winner of those two go to the World Series. They think it gave the regular season more meaning, is what I've heard a lot. Do you agree with that? You too, Robbie. Do you guys agree with this?
You want to go first?
Well, no, I was just going to say that goes back to what you were saying earlier about the 5-100 or the 4-100 win teams.
Yeah.
I mean, the regular season doesn't really matter, and I think that that's starting to be proven. Well, okay, it does matter. You got to win games, but I think, as James and Andrew said, you got to get hot at the right time, and that's why I thought the Yankees were going to make it really far, because I thought they were going to get hot come playoff time. Turns out they didn't.
Do you think that's good, though? The fact that the regular season is potentially meaning less and less.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you look at a sport like the NBA. In the NBA, it's mostly talent based, right? And the postseason doesn't bring as much excitement because you're seeing the same teams every single year. Whereas baseball, we're getting different teams in the World Series every year. So I think that's why it's really good for baseball, despite what some fans say.
Okay.
I think the regular season means just as much or even more because the wild card game incentivizes you to win your division, and if you have a better record, you get home field advantage either in the in one of the earlier rounds or in the World Series if you make it that far. So I don't think the World Series I don't think the regular season has any less meaning. I think it actually has more meaning because with just the one wild card, it didn't really matter if you won the division or got your wild card, right? You were going to make the playoffs. Everyone wants to avoid that one game playoff now. You got to burn your ace. You got to win one game against a potentially very hot team coming in. You never know what can happen in one game. Going back to your original question about the best team, right?
Right.
If you're the best team, you're going to win in the postseason. I mean, just because you have 100 wins doesn't mean you're, quote, the better team. You still have to go prove it in a 5. Yes, it is easier in a 5-game series to flame out than in a 7-game series, but you still have your chances to prove it. It's not a one-game scenario like the wild card game where the better team could lose. Just because another team is hot, if you're that much better, you're going to fend them off.
I mean, that's a great point, James.
Right?
I was going to say, I agree 100%, yeah.
Like, I think, after this season, like, you could make the argument that the Red Sox had a better season than both the Yankees and the Rays, and they did. Like, they eliminated both of them, and it's like, yes, the Rays won 100 games, but it didn't matter come postseason time.
I mean, regardless of what happened in the series, I think the Red Sox had a better season than the Yankees and the Yankees and Rays overall. Just because the Red Sox were deemed as, a potential fourth team.
Yes, that's fair too. Yeah.
But no, I definitely agree though. My big thing is with the regular season, I think as long as you can make the playoffs, I think it's good because we've seen teams that were in the wild card game make the World Series the last few years. So I think that's the Nationals, then
the Dodgers could this year, the Red Sox could this year, just the teams that are still in. I mean, it wouldn't
Don't forget the Royals.
Right.
And the Astros, I think, one year, right? They beat the Yankees in the wild card game. I think that was 2015.
They didn't make it.
Oh, no, not 2015. Never mind, yeah.
And Atlanta just tied the game.
Yeah, 4-4. That's a RBI single from, looked like Travis
Travis
d'Arnaud. Yeah, Travis d'Arnaud doing some damage. 4-4 game in Atlanta as Milwaukee's starting to sweat a little bit. They really they need to win here. There's no question about it to force that game 5.
I think I might have jinxed the Brewers bullpen, by the way.
I think we jinxed every single team that we picked because so far, me and you, Robbie, have just been dead wrong. I mean,
were you guys both Brewers White Sox in the World
Series? We were both Brewers White Sox, and he had the Brewers winning, and I had the White Sox winning.
I think we both got the championship series wrong too.
We got that wrong. We both got both. No. We both got one wild card game wrong.
I picked the White Sox and the Yankees in the ALCS, and then in the NLCS, I picked the Giants. We'll see if the Giants get tonight, but I picked the Giants. I think it was the Brewers.
So if the Brewers end up losing tonight and the Dodgers end up somehow forcing Game 5 and winning, every single pick that I had for the entire postseason will be incorrect.
You also had the Phillies making the playoffs before the season started.
Well, no, I'm talking about the ones we made last week. The ones before the season or whatever. We didn't know anything. Nobody had the Giants in. Nobody had the Brewers in. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me that it has been 10 long years, Robbie. Thank you.
Going back to the league championships quickly. Let's break down Red Sox Astros the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, of course.
You have 2 great offenses going at it. You have McCullers and Eovaldi as the clear aces of each staff. But then after that, it's a lot of unknown. Yes, you have Chris Sale. When he's healthy, he's a top 5 pitcher in the game. Still probably not fully healthy coming off Tommy John. And I think we can all agree on that. I'm not making excuses for him. That's just what it is. But he has to step up. If the Red Sox are going to go win this series, win the World Series, whatever, he has to step up. Nick Pivetta has to continue to pitch well. Erod has to continue to pitch well. They have to. Alex Cora's got to continue to work his magic and use the bullpen in ways that you wouldn't think. Tanner Houck, whatever role they use him in, he's pitched really well so far. The offense is going to hit. It comes down to all of the pitchers besides Eovaldi and Whitlock because Eovaldi and Whitlock will show up. They will. They are their 2 best pitchers. Garrett Whitlock has probably been the best Red Sox player this entire season. He has saved their season a bunch. You could make the argument for, of course, Devers. But he and Hunter Renfroe, 2 Red Sox saviors this year. I've got the Red Sox in 7. I think it's going to be a tremendous series. Alex Cora going up against his old team. Dusty Baker looking to get back to the World Series, looking to win that World Series. I think the Red Sox offense will be just enough. The Red Sox pitching will do just enough. Red Sox in 7 in a tremendous ALCS.
Well, James, I was going to ask you, do you think if Chris Sale performs the way that he did in the ALDS, do you think the Red Sox can still win the series if Chris Sale has 2 bad outings?
It depends how they use him. It depends how they deploy everyone else. If he does have another bad outing and they move him to the bullpen and he performs like David Price did, then yeah, they still can win. It all depends on how he performs out of the bullpen. But yes, he must perform better out of the rotation.
What I think is interesting, though, is if Chris Sale pitches in, let's say, Game 2, if he is terrible, do the Red Sox even start him again in maybe like a Game 6 or 7?
Probably, but they could also use him out of that David Price role in the bullpen.
Yeah.
Because when David Price went to the bullpen in 17, he pitched really well after getting shelled. And same in 18, too, before he fixed in the rotation.
James, you mentioned it being pretty much an unknown in terms of pitching after those two. I don't think I'd agree with that for the side of the bullpen because, and I wrote this down here in my show notes as well, if the Red Sox are going to somehow make the World Series, what they did last night is unacceptable when it comes to the bullpen. They need to be better outside of Garrett Whitlock, of course.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, no. Okay. When you were saying that there's unknowns after those two, were you saying pitching or just starting pitching? Because I took that as meant pitching because I think the Astros are clearly not a bunch of unknowns when it comes to the bullpen.
No, I was more saying in terms of the Red Sox.
Oh, okay. Oh, you were talking about just the Red Sox.
Yeah, mainly.
Okay.
The Astros don't have no names, but I mean it's not smooth sailing in the bullpen.
No, by no means, but it's also not close for which one's better. I mean.
Yeah. No, right, on paper the Astros bullpen is better, but Alex Cora knows how to use his bullpen, and I have confidence in Ryan Brazier. Stepped up. Last night he didn't pitch well, but in September and the first few games of the postseason he pitched really well. Hansel Robles, he before Sunday, he hadn't given up an earned run since August 28th. Tanner Howe continued to be used well to the bullpen. Garrett Whitlock. I mean, look, Alex Cora is pressing the right button, so I trust the guys that he uses. I trust the guys that he calls upon. He's working his magic. I'm starting to have a little bit of trust in the Red Sox bullpen. Yes, it makes me nervous every time that somebody comes in besides Garrett Whitlock, but I do trust the guys that Cora puts out there, and I think they can get it done. I think Cora knows how Houston operates. He knows how to pitch to him. We saw that in 18 in the LCS. I think it's going to be a tremendous series, but I've got the Red Sox in 7.
See, I got the Red Sox in 6 games. Now remember this. I've been wrong about almost every single series. So I'm liking what I'm doing here right now, guys. The Red Sox are going to win in 6 games.
Yeah, but if you're doing it for a reverse jinx attempt, I don't think it works like that.
We'll find out. We'll find out in a few weeks or next week. But here's the reason why I think the Red Sox are going to win. Number one, I think their lineup is amazing right now. I don't think the Astros starting pitching is going to be able to stop the Red Sox lineup. How do I know? The Red Sox just shelled Garrett Cole like it was nothing. They made, the Rays pitching was incredible all season.
They shelled Shane McClanahan.
They shelled Shane McClanahan. They were hitting everybody. And to me, it's like, I think the big thing is going to be slowing down the Astros lineup because the Astros have a really strong lineup. But I think the Red Sox have a better lineup. I think that their starting pitching as a whole can be better. When it comes to the bullpen, Astros got a better bullpen by a lot. But I think that everything that comes down together, it's going to be Red Sox in 6.
All right, so we have 2 Red Sox, 1 in 6, 1 in 7. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I think the Astros take this series, and I think it's going to be. Look, I'm not saying I want that. I'm rooting for the Red Sox, of course. I don't like either team, but I don't want cheaters in the World Series, of course. I don't care if they didn't do it this year. They did it in the past. I know. But maybe we'll just say to a little bit of a less degree. No, but I do think the Astros take this. Watching, since the White Sox were my World Series pick, I watched every single one of those games, and honestly, they just looked dominant. The Astros did. I mean, I like their pitching. I like their offense is just so scary, and I know that's the case for the Red Sox as well, but the Astros just looked out in here. I think that the edge is going to come to the fact that the Houston Astros have a better bullpen, and I'm going to say in 6 games, Astros are headed to the World Series.
Obviously, I want the Red Sox to win extremely bad, but I am so happy today after going to the LCS. This has been such an exciting season. I mean, really, besides that blip in August, they performed consistently well pretty much the entire season. They've been frustrating at times, but I'm pumped. I love this team. I think they've got it in them. I really think the Red Sox can do it this year. There's something special about them. I really think they can go down and win in Houston when they need to. They're a really good road team. I think that's there's something to be said about that in the postseason. It's going to be an evenly matched series. It's nothing's going to come easy against the Astros. They're the team I was most afraid of in the American League the entire year. But if you're going to win, you got to beat somebody good.
James, I'm very happy about how happy you are because I got to say it's not shared by anyone else in the studio right now.
That's totally fine.
That is awesome, James. Good for you, man. Postseason baseball is so fun. Love watching postseason baseball. Watching your favorite team in the postseason is just such a treat. Really do love doing that. It's just amazing, and I'm so thankful that we get to experience that every year, all of us here in the studio.
Can we get on to closing thoughts? Because I have.
Go for it.
All right, guys.
Closing thoughts, yeah.
Here's my closing thought. I think the Rays are going to trade Tyler Glasnow this offseason.
So we're just giving a closing thought about
who would pick him up?
the offseason.
Somebody's going to trade him. Somebody's going to trade for him because he's arbitration eligible this offseason, and the Rays always trade guys who are arbitration eligible. Also, Kevin Kiermaier, we've probably seen his last game as a Tampa Bay Ray.
Oh, I agree with that. Someone's going to pay him way too much money for what he's worth. I mean, his glove alone is going to be worth it.
Is he free agent?
He's a free agent, yeah. He'll probably get a 2-year deal to go somewhere.
Kiermaier's gone. I think Glasnow's gone as well.
All right, well, I'm going to make well, this actually isn't a prediction here. I'm going to have a challenge to the Rays. Stop it with this no superstar model. You have the salary space. You're nowhere near the luxury tax. Sign a superstar. Make this team cohesive. Build it around one guy. You already have Franco. You already have the pitching. Sign a superstar. Get to the World Series. Win your World Series.
Yeah, no, definitely. The Rays have the potential to do it, and they've tried to get guys in the past, acquiring Nelson Cruz. He's a pretty big name.
Superstar. He's not a...
he's a big name, though.
Let me give you an example here. And we have 1 minute here left, so I'm going to close after this. But 2 years ago, there is no reason why either Bryce Harper or Manny Machado couldn't be on the Rays. And if they were...
Oh, that just sounds so fun.
I'm just saying. There's no reason. Those were 2 generational talents that they had unbelievable amounts of money to blow, and they didn't do it.
So what's a position you want the Rays to address this offseason?
I'm going to say, if I'm the Rays front office, and I'm not, and I'm also nowhere near as smart as them, I'm signing a superstar shortstop.
Wander Franco?
Yeah, they all can play different positions, all the ones on the market. You have Correa can play third and second. Story can do that. Semien.
Carlos Correa on the Tampa Bay Rays.
I'm not saying it has to be Correa. I'm saying they need a superstar, and this particular offseason has a lot of superstar shortstops. I don't know what the Rays are going to do here, but that's my opinion on them. James, any closing thoughts before we wrap up here?
I think we're going to get a Red Sox-Giants World Series.
Red Sox-Giants World Series. All right. Well, still 4-4 in Atlanta between the Braves and the Brewers. Go ahead, watch that game, see how that unfolds. Thank you all so much for tuning into this edition of Nation's Pastime in the nation's capital. We've loved having you, and hope that you tune in next week as well, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on WCUA Radio. Check our socials at @PastimeCap to know when the shows are posted. Like I said, by Friday, should have all of the shows, 3, maybe 4 from this year, up on Spotify in a playlist, and if not, on YouTube as well the day after. Thanks again so much for tuning in. Have a fantastic rest of your night. I've been your host, Andrew Staith, here with my co-hosts, James Higgins and Robbie Cruz. Once again, have a fantastic night.
Peace out.